Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you about one promising possibility, which is a Thai boxing doctor of education Polazovandri, specialist in the field of information technology, ranking the Institute of Physical Culture, Sport and Youth Policy, Ural Federal University Ekaterinburg. Abstract Thai boxing is losing popularity and financial support for objective reasons. To raise the visibility necessary to interest the athlete allows monitoring of its results in the form of ranking. However, the variant of the direct Masro tournament to all interested persons for 2 days for the weight class, which will dramatically increase the popularity, the attention of the media, sponsors, which could potentially allow to get the Olympic license and state budgetary financing. Rating itself has no meaning. The difference corresponds to the difference in the ratings applied and missed punches within Masro tournament fights conducted among equals on the current rating of the opponents. Sooner or later the party gets into such an environment where upstream rivals win in his one punch and downstream lose. Tournament was further makes no sense, however. From the resulting ratings can predict the results of all the failed matches, that is. I'm doing research in the field of sports ranking for 20 years. During this time, several books. I want to present some of them to you. First of all, this is the book Rating in Sports, Yesterday, Today and Tomorrow, which has been published by Soviet Sport in 2007. In 2011, the publishing house of Business and Life in Moscow published a book, Encyclopedia Rating, Economy, Sport and Society. In it, I was looking for a topic generalization ranking for various areas. I have a study in the psychology of sport. This is the book module Psychological Structure in the Sport. It deals with the types of personality, types, nature and types of intelligence. I myself played indoor soccer, so I could not pass by this sport. First, it has carried out its work, and then wrote a book, New Technologies in Training Teams. I had to do joint research with the Russian Federation Team Sports, in particular. In 2008, I was doing research level playing hockey for the Continental Hockey League Ice Hockey Federation of Russia. The same year, a similar study was done for the Russian national team. Today, I cannot remember most of my first book in 1995. It was a monograph. The short form will bring some of the most significant publications of particular highlight of my master's and doctorate. They were both devoted to the theme ranking in the sport. Threat to the existence of non-Olympic sports. Number of sports involved in the rapidly declining. According to the State Council in 2009, the total number engaged in all kinds of physical activity was 15% of the population. At the same time, of the 70 million economically active population, of only 7.6% regularly engage in physical activity in the world for more than 200 sports. For the most part a graveyard of sports. They, like humans, are born and die. The list of Russian sports is 159, each of which is split up between 3 and 20 subspecies of each. The program of the Olympic Games consists of 37 species. Winter. The 15th of August, 2012, International Association for the Movement of Sports for All TAFISA, representing a permanent working group committee of the International Olympic Committee IOC Sport for All at the 20th World Congress GAFISA in Buenos Aires, presented a list of the 20 most popular and popular sports in the world, a percentage of all students enrolled in 200 countries, including Russia. It is interesting that of the Olympic was lower than non-Olympic, 9 to 11. As can be seen from the results of research on all kinds of martial arts. Avkushai here and Thai boxing has 3.4% of the total number of students. The complexity of the situation is that in August 2012 the International Federation of Thai Boxing has filed a formal request for Avkushni Thai boxing in the Olympic Games. But at the same time common report about the popularity of sports, IOC is in a quandary. Of the 20 most popular sport 11, not Olympiski. Let's count the number of practitioners Thai boxing in Russia in 2012 accordingly. We expected the popularity of Thai boxing in Russia could be 10,000. It is approximately 700 people at each of the 14 weight classes. All Olympic sports are 100% financed from the budget. All the rest, at the expense of sponsorship funds. The popularity of the sport, the main condition for entering the number of Olympic disciplines, and as a result of government support. You need to create a permanent emotional stimulus. Every athlete dreams of conquering the sports summit. Possibility to observe it creates a sense closer to the top. How far is it from the top sports athlete to do this for 3 to 7 years in a row to win all the tournaments? There is no formula competition which would allow for 1 year to become world champion. Does winning the title of champion in Thai boxing fame champion does not give the status of fame? Then why fight for it? Any athlete dreams of conquering the sports summit, but to achieve it with the existing system of competition should be 3 to 7 years. Reaching the top does not give the winner of fame. It must be shown in the athletes and the media and the public the true extent of popularity. This mission should perform rating. This is a global Mero tournament. Rating allows you to visualize the distribution of forces in the sport to show its magnitude. Rating, an incentive, if the athlete will be able to visualize the path of advancement to the top. It will be his main incentive for many years. On the slide shows the change in the level of an athlete of age chart. The progression of any athlete consists of 2 lines of logistics: the rise and degradation. Skill level athlete male starts to grow from approximately 16 years depending on the type of logistics and reaches a peak in 25 years. Visualize the scale of the sport to reflect the balance of power in it and show respect to his place. Athlete sporting the top. To interest him in this, to create suspense in opposition to score. What benefits will this federation? All the themes of sport, one way or another connected with the theme of the result. Rating cannot keep a record of fraud athletes. A key factor in the development of the sport is the dynamics of growth in the number of athletes. How to define works well in the regional federation of the sport or not. Representation of athletes from the region in the selected interval scale rating must also be twice the other. But for this you need a rating. And it is not how to identify a good method of training an athlete of bad. Perhaps this should be linked to the dynamics of growth of its results. To do this, compare the rating of an athlete to use techniques and after rating not allow the number of postscripts to engage in involved and allows to objectively monitor. This indicator, change in rating, gives an indication of the effectiveness of the techniques. Most of the coach call rankings shifted into the region of positive integers, the result of a hypothetical member of the Global Public Mero Tournament Annual Circular. We present the results of a personal meeting to the value change rating. First of all, we transform the result of a personal meeting two numbers difference in the ratings one number. Suppose that you have 1 4 to 1. We arbitrarily arrange the opponents at the start and give them a meeting with higher and lower neighbors. What is ranked? We have a competition participants. Suppose that the neighbors held contests to get the results you see. Results on these initial conversion rating of 2200, competition participants expenditures by most. Intimacy in level of exhibitor moved to scale rating until full balance of his neighbors in. Another, received a personal rating of meeting gives the result of players that do not occur. Rating so economic benefits partner met with only two competitors, but from its rating, we can presumably know the results with every one. Rating, not an end but a means to an end. This tool allows members of the myriad quickly find their closest afford and do not bother for this purpose all of their endless competition. Thai boxing Muay Thai loses its popularity due to objective reasons. But it can make a difference if you visualize the scale of the sport to reflect the balance of power with the rating. Rating is the result of the global macro tournament circular, which is impossible because of the large number of participants. Therefore, there are several models rating, which will reproduce the results of all the others. What are the stages of evolution is rated in the sport? 7 stages. 1. Rating, opinion of experts. In particular, assignment athlete level. A rank is another option. 2. Information mixture HIPLO rating. All available information about an object falls into one common mass, and from whom it will be more that will take precedence. 3. Bonus classification rating. This is a more differentiated approach. Its main problem is that the place should be determined by rating. But here the opposite, the rating is determined by the occupied side. 4. Rating is a result of the formula for success. Undertake activities and indicators of success are summarized in the magic formula. 5. Sequential conversion of the highest ranking in the direction of equilibrium athlete rankings and results. Researchers ranking always forget that, consistently writing the equation for the participants. They use a system of linear equations, which may or may not have solutions. 6. Rating, the result of a hypothetical global member of chaotic macro tournament, which is defined by an explicit solution of the system of linear equations. 7. The real global macro tournament whose results are presented in the form of ranking, the existence of Thai boxing in danger of losing popularity. To restore it, no sense of time and pass all the stages and the corresponding model rating. What rating model parents would prefer? Parents understand correctly, need to prove the consistency of the rating of its convergence with the actual results. There are many variants of ranking in the sport. However, the quality rating of the model tested a very simple way. The main criteria, the convergence of the expected and actual results. My proposed option has the highest convergence. Very similar, but less precise results showed the system ALO in chess, one of the worst rating you can watch a football game. International Federation of Football Association FIFA has given the right to establish methods of counting the rating to one of his regular sponsors, Coca-Cola. As a result, every World Cup a European downstream rated team beat a higher set of results, formed a group of death, snap endings, etc. In the struggle for its popularity with other sports, Thai boxing Muamtai just to show the scope of its current popularity with the modern model of the rating as, however, parents are not stupid and will not accept rating which does not correspond to the real results of the child, humiliates him. Difficulties with the rating of the competing sports should not sorrowful. Even with a very bad model at the top of scales rating, the alignment is obtained similar to the truth. The problem is that the rating need not only the leading athletes, he needs located beneath 8,000 to 10,000, so here girls and boys. Many of the International Federation of different kinds of struggle to understand the importance of ranking in the struggle for popularity, but are not scientifically sound solutions to this problem. The main feature of this model, the convergence of the expected and actual results, which it must be checked first of all athletes and the parents, they cannot accept the model. As privates of the athlete can consider his rating, if the rating to reflect the procedure for obtaining the results, then let A be a competitor to the original rating assigned to it 2,200 in the first matches, found in the athlete, whose rating is 2,200. In doing so he struck him a blow and missed for 1. What is the physical meaning of this rating of A in 2,700, if we assume that all participants will fight in a circle? The average difference between the applied and Mr. Party to the beats will correspond to the difference of his rankings in 2,700 and the average rating across the macro tournament 2,200. It will be a ratio of 3 to 1. This ratio gives 500 advantage. Rating is obtained solving the system of linear equations. On the slide shows a practical example of the interpretation of a system of linear equations. It's not complicated. This rating is protected from fraud. Rate is calculated as the party system of linear equations. One of these equations directly relate to the participant. In the structure of competition should not be isolated micro-tournaments. If it has been the primacy of the city in each weight class, who then has to be on the championship field? From the field, who then has to be at the championship of Russia, etc. In a few weeks, Shermanov Eugene is currently creating a site that believes in the rating of the automatic mode. The modern idea of the ranking is the result of the participant in the global annual macro tournament with all the athletes. Proposed to entrust the rating list of the International Federation of Thai Boxing a few. The variant of the direct macro tournament then used the Swiss system. In each subsequent duel meet opponents with the most similar values of the rating. Rating calculation is completely analogous to be held in Yekaterinburg in the premises INOPRMA. Informal World Championship. Everyone in Thai boxing. Maximum number of participants which can be represented in one weight category, 50,000. It is proposed that a trial tournament enter the evaluation based on the rating scale used. Evaluate the performance of the federation to increase the number of Autray-Angovani fighters. Evaluate the work of the regional federations of the ratio of men to Aitingovani total population. Evaluate methods of preparation on the increase rankings, etc.
Лето пролетело, все осталось позади, но когда песни башни развели. Этот рап про то и это, обо всем, что было летом, по секрету всему свету.
That prevents the implementation of rating now, inertia. Thai boxing Muay Thai also due to its popularity has inertia to innovation in the slideshow section of the rules of competition. It provides an opportunity to evaluate the match. Referee result is not exactly scoring rules in Thai boxing. 13.10. At the end of each round, athletes who made a greater number of strokes that have achieved the goals and shocked opponent they led him out of fighting stance gets 10 points. Almost all sports have moved to the general scoring. In Thai boxing, Muay Thai is still considered the number of rounds won. This is an outdated approach, especially for the rating did not have to change. In the minutes of the match must be individually calculated by the judges, give the result by the number of strokes, and it is this account shall be used to calculate the rankings. Since virtually all sports is considered a result of the overall ratio of strikes, it makes no sense to keep going his own way. Rating must exceed once considered to impact. If you decide the winner of rounds, where it leads, on average, 600 athletes will have the same rating. If you take the rounds, the score is 4 times more accurate, and then 150 athletes will have the same rating. Does it make sense as a rough estimate of the balance of power? No representatives of what style of combat may be affected by the introduction of rating as a rule. Men are conventionally divided in two-player. Temper knockout for the first two categories did not change, but the fight may end prematurely by knockout. To knock the rating, it is simply recorded hit. Summary 10 requires a direct calculation of correlation attacks. If nothing is changed, the rating will be equal to hundreds of athletes. Do not reasonable to first roughen the result and then make up a large number of accurate assessment of fights. How the competition is taking place. The system is similar to the Swiss system at the start. Everyone is assigned a rating of 2,200. General list of participants at the start of randomly generated in the first two rounds. Each participant plays a neighbor above and neighbor from the bottom. For example, 2 plays with number 1 and number 3, and number 3 with number 2 and number 4. This is in order. After 2 rounds began to work the system of linear equations. After the second and each subsequent rounds is determined by the rating of each of the participants in solving the system of linear equations. It is the sum of the rating score of his opponent and the result of the meeting. The result is multiplied by 1,000 to respect the difference between application and missed punches to their sum. In each subsequent duel meet opponents with the most similar values of rating. Given the right opponent's merit tournament, each participant at the time of completion will be 0. A close to 0 difference. The maximum total duration is macro tournament 2t equals n, where n, the number of participants, and t, the number of rounds. The actual required number of rounds. Macro tournament with the possible number of participants. The density of the location, 7. At the end of 7 rounds it's possible to form the final outcome of several circular micro-tournament. Strongest participants played with the earlier meeting between the two. The actual required number of rounds. Macro-tournament with the possible number of participants. The density of the location, 7. At the end of 7 rounds it's possible to form the final outcome of several circular micro-tournament. Strongest participants played with the earlier meeting between the two. The actual required number of rounds. Macro-tournament with the possible number of participants. The density of the location, 7. At the end of 7 rounds it's possible to form the final outcome of several circular micro-tournament. Strongest participants played with the earlier meeting between the two. The advantages of the rating formula. The results obtained are equivalent to the results of a global round of macro event. Since the form of the function and method of conversion, the results do not depend on the draw. The sequence and conditions meet and get together at any of the sequence. There are only equal or very close to the forces of rivals. Place the macro tournament competitions can be held in INNPROMA Yekaterinburg. The total area of 46,000 square meters of buildings. Can I have this formula to combine men's, women's, children's tournaments? Of course yes. Strong girls can without too much trouble to win the least powerful men. In summing up will be a general list of rankings of all participants. There will be a list where only the men, women and children's part. Is it possible to macro tournament one for all weight categories? Typically, the weight category allows contestants met with the difference in weight of approximately plus or minus 7%. If your weight is 60 kilograms, you can spend a duel with his rival 64 kilograms. That in turn can compete with an opponent 70 pounds, and so on. Summary 11. 1. The technological progress of mankind has reduced the demand for physical qualities. So do not be funded from the budget. Is not an Olympic Thai boxing. Muay Thai is transformed into an exotic sports and in the future will add symmetry of the 200,000 known species of sport too. Every athlete dreams of conquering the sports summit, but to achieve it with the existing system of competition should be 3 to 7 years, and this does not reach the summit of fame. Winner 3. Conduct a tournament instead of a host of other cost-effective. Find sponsors that are for advertising on the walls. You can even pay the rent in Yekaterinburg. 4. The problem is solved by the rating, which can display the results as a hypothetical and a real close-up tournament. If you are a gifted athlete, and you have a choice, go to a sport with a real close-up tournament. In any other, you choose the former. Why not? Because no one else. You do not provide this service, because the train, say, a year can win this tournament and become world champion, because if you do not win it you will have time to try somewhere else, because this tournament is a true celebration of the sport. And come on holiday all the athletes. Come to the feast and CNN and TV, all the media around the world. Behind them come sponsors. You will see all participants in the sport. You will feel how many of them, and how in this situation, your victory is significant. And you want for this holiday again. To summarize, what do we offer? Decision in principle about counting in Thai boxing rankings based on the balance deposited and missed strikes. The first time it will be an informal assessment to which the public is gradually adapted and struck. The rating calculation and representation of members of the Internet are for Yekaterinburg and E.A. Polozov, Shermanov. You enter the evaluation based on the rating scale used. Evaluate the performance of the federation to increase the number of rating fighters. Evaluate the work of the regional federations of the ratio of men to rating total population. Evaluate training methods on the dynamics of growth rankings, etc. Discuss in more detail at the board of the International Federation of Thai Boxing Muay Thai. The idea of a close-up tournament, to be held in the presence of members of the executive committee in Yekaterinburg on the premises, INNOPRMA trial tournament, by the end of his discussion of its details.